Lui, c'est Daniel Goldhaber, le réalisateur de Sabotage, un film sur des écoterroristes qui se réunissent pour faire exploser un pipeline de pétrole. Un thriller politique dingue qui a inquiété le F.B.I. Il nous raconte.
The movie is based on a manifesto by Andreas Malm, who is a Swedish Marxist academic, and the book that the movie is based on, How to Blow Up a Pipeline, is an argument in favor of the destruction of property, specifically fossil fuel infrastructure, in the fight against climate change.
Which would be great if we still had time, but by the time any market solution does shit, billions of people will be dead from climate disasters.
We all want faster change, but these are huge systems that change incrementally.
And so for the film, what we really wanted to do was to take that argument and take the ideas of the book and find a way to translate them and dramatize them in a way that would bring them to a wider audience, but that would also challenge them. Because, you know, kind of as soon as you take these ideas and you bring them into the real world and you put them into the mouths and behaviors of characters, they take on a different, more complex dimension. And the process by which we did that was really just a lot of boots on the ground work, you know, meeting with different activists, academics, intellectuals, and also just people who individually have been affected by the fossil fuel industry and by climate change.
Answer the question. Do you feel like a terrorist?
Do I feel like a terrorist? Of course I feel like a fucking terrorist. We're blowing up a goddamn pipeline. They're gonna call us terrorists.
No, they're gonna call us revolutionaries or game changers.
No, they're gonna call us terrorists because we're doing terror.
We wanted the movie to exist as kind of the beginning of that conversation rather than feel like we were capitalizing or, you know, directly inspired by actual events that had occurred. At the same time, obviously something like the Nord Stream pipeline explosion complicates the reception of the movie because, I mean, that's like a sabotage of a pipeline for a very, very different kind of reason. But I think it goes to show just how powerful infrastructural sabotage can be. And obviously, in that case, it was deployed for fairly nefarious purposes. But I think that it's definitely something that's always on the mind.
All right, I need 96 mils of water. That one. Okay.
So we never have personally, you know, been faced with any sort of questioning or, you know, the government has never been in touch with us. There were something like 38 national security bulletins issued about the film in the United States. And this was the most bulletins issued since the Roe v. Wade leak of the Supreme Court decision. And I think that, you know, what's relevant is to say that all of these security bulletins had no actual threat attached to them. They were essentially, I think, just trying to use the movie and the cultural moment that the movie had to, you know, say, oh, there's some vague threat of environmental extremism that exists out there. We need more money for our department, which I think more than anything just speaks to the laziness and greed of the police. But I think it also speaks to the ways in which the environmental movement writ large is being criminalized. And I think that that is something that is extremely distressing to me, is the rollback of free speech and, you know, protections for activists when it comes to environmentalism, especially in the United States, but honestly kind of even throughout Europe. You know, you have people who are engaged with very basic and kind of well-worn, even civil disobedience, who are being arrested, charged with terrorism, held without bail, facing human rights abuses at the hands of the state.
Something like the equivalent of 600 sticks of dynamite.
What if y'all do structural damage?
Structural damage is kind of the point.
For me, it's very important to distinguish the fact that this movie is a cultural product. And I think it exists to introduce a conversation to a mainstream audience around this question, again, of is sabotage a necessary and defensible tactic for the environmental movement to adopt to prevent a climate apocalypse? Is the destruction of fossil fuel infrastructure self-defense? And we mean to ask that question with the film.
Konbini!